Okay,
Yeah, that's good.
that's considerably better. You're on the 5-minute delay. We trust and believe in you. The Quash Ridge Tusker laid down immediately by Vogar, who is playing Urgnok, the Orc. A strong 0-1 for 1 Ruby Orc who will grant his attack to another attacking troop on the turn where he attacks.
And of course, with the Rage, Urgnok,
Yeah.
and the Urgnok power, he can get quite powerful here quickly. Pump up the team.
One of 2 popular aggro card formats in the series. Without even going into deck lists, most players could tell you right off the bat what the 2 most popular decks coming into the tournament would be.
So we do see the Urgnok Champion Power activation here.
That puts 1 attack power onto the Quash Ridge Tusker all on its own. On the other side of the board, Hida only running Chrysidia, which is, of course, what we would assume the second most popular deck list, or the first most popular, depending, champion to be.
Wild Ruby Ramp.
Wild Ruby Ramp versus what appears to be Ruby something or another. 2 Quash Ridge Tuskers on the board. Those will work together. They will bounce their ability back and forth. So the first Quash Ridge will give its bonus to the other, and then the second one will give its doubled up bonus to the first.
Yeah, Watery Crow with no board even on the second turn here. Could be in some trouble here. That is a lot of damage coming across from Vogar.
Yep, we will see one of his Quash Ridges will go to 3, the other will go to 1. That 3 will go on. Oh, it looks like he did it the other way around. The 1 will go onto the 4, and then the 4 will go onto the 1, dealing 9 damage here on turn 3. Swinging in, bringing Watery Crow down to 9. He needs to produce a blocker or some way to deal with this situation, or he will be dead on the board.
You see an Ageless Troubadour here. Generally used to ramp up your resources, but in this case, he'll be jumping in front of a Tusker.
Yeah. Aegis Troubadour almost certainly having to. Although it's entirely possible that we see a Fiery Indignation here. We don't.
Well, unfortunately, he's pretty much forced into doing it. If Vogar attacks here, he's going to have to block. Just the double Tusker start, putting on a lot of pressure here early.
We see Lunge used pre-combat here to give the second Quash Ridge Tusker the +2 attack prior to swinging. A little bit interesting, these quick actions having to be used on the Quash Ridges before they attack so that their abilities have the proper amount.
Yep, seems like a good play here. So Watery Crow in a terrible position. Going to be forced to
take 8 here.
Take 8 here.
Going to 1. Now, that being said, the Chrysidia deck could possibly just win next turn. So we'll see if that is a situation here.
That is a possibility.
We see a shard, 4 resources, charge power goes to 5. And there's the Walking Calamity off of the Titania's Majesty. That will deal 10 damage coming onto the board, and then it has Speed and Crush, so it will deal another 10 damage. So on 1 health, Watery Crow makes a relatively strong comeback, assuming Vogar isn't holding on to Scorch, I believe, is the only out for him here.
Well, Scorch would be basic, so unfortunately...
Is Scorch basic?
Yeah. Scorch would not be an option for him there, unfortunately.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
I think he probably would have just jammed it out there if he had it on his turn.
So players going to reserves, no longer having to edit their decks entirely, just able to do that from within the client. Just a friendly heads up, guys. There's definitely going to be a little bit of an issue here with the judge being overwhelmed by various reports. So give Zubrin as much time and patience as you can.
I imagine we will have a number of questions coming up on the day as well. Some things that I have heard about that may appear to be bugs but aren't. For example, with Titania's Majesty and Heart of the Wrathwood. If you pull Heart of the Wrathwood out of the deck, it appears that it's getting double what it should, but that is apparently what it's supposed to be doing in the game. I know, that one seems unintuitive to me as well.
I don't agree with it. I don't even think it works rules as written. So we see Vogar chooses to go first, lays out a Ruby resource, has mulled down to 5, does not have a turn 1 play, which is interesting for that style of deck.
How many 1-drops do you think a typical aggro deck should be playing, Penta?
It really depends on what kind of aggro you are. I would say that 12 seems like a bare minimum.
Yeah, 12 seems like the minimum, I would think. Get reasonable chances of having one in your opener.
Triple Z, I've heard that argument. I respect that people will make that argument. I'm going to continue to believe you're wrong. There's nothing you can do about it. So we see First Blood come up from Vogar here. He gets to create 2 1/1 Scarlet Raiders that do have that speed ability and can attack immediately.
Yeah, this matchup definitely all about a race.
We see a Periwinkle coming down. Periwinkle, not the kind of card that will accelerate Watercrow to any sort of scariness, but will double up his 5 and higher cost cards if he's allowed to stay on the board. We'll see what Vogar does in response here. Looks like he's going to use his charge power on one of the Scarlet Raiders and swing in.
I think if I'm Vogar, even though it's minor, I attack with both here anyway. Like, this is the kind of matchup where you just have to race and pretend that you have things that you may not have even.
So we see double Titania's Majesty. The copy of Titania's Majesty, of course, not actually having a socket. Yeah, a little bit of an issue, but Titania's Majesty players well aware that that's been happening. Crocosaur is pulled from the deck and is going to be used to destroy both of those Scarlet Raiders with its battle ability. That will quickly destroy those. And now the second Titania's Majesty goes off, and it looks like it will very likely pull a second Crocosaur from the board. Titania's Majesty, on an odd note, creates a copy of a card, so you don't even have to worry about diluting your deck. There are still multiple Crocosaurs within Watercrow's deck should he choose the Crocosaur here. It's not like taking it reduces the number he can draw.
And as we were mentioning before the cast, this is definitely one of those situations where there's a bug in the game, but Watercrow is choosing to play the card anyway, even to its detriment.
As the client stands, that second Titania's Majesty should have a random gem in it. Haven't played much with the random gem thing, but what I've noticed of the random gems created is that they create gems that you have the threshold for, which is odd.
Yeah, I've noticed that as well, too.
But also, yeah, I think that's probably the right decision. Regardless. Looks like Watercrow chooses to take the Ageless Troubadour out of his deck as a note. That will give him an extra resource on the start of his turn for every elf in play, including itself. Periwinkle, of course, being an elf. Have you read the novel? So at the start of his turn, he'll have 2 bonus resources because of that Ageless Troubadour, assuming that they stay on the board. On the other side, Vogar now setting up in a defensive position with his veteran raider and another Scarless. No, that's this. Yeah, with the Scarless Raider that was created. We now see a Crocosaur from hand, which will be doubled up, and the match is over. Vogar concedes there. So that is the end of our first featured match. It's time to go and grab another one because